Some people said that Mu Huaice, the immortal king, married Sheng Ji for the sake of registered residence. In fact, she is trying to obtain the identity of local people, luring him to the bait with her registered residence, seeking a marriage before love, enjoying his people first, and then occupying his heart. 800 years ago, in order to save her life, he suffered ear injuries and was forced to give up his position as the young master. Despite receiving cold looks, he never blamed her. Such a good man, others don't hurt, she wants to treat him like a precious lump. Mu Huaice is a young genius with a heart full of vitality. His white clothes surpass snow, and he is as handsome as jade. After his deafness, he aspired to establish the Sheng Ji pavilion, where intelligence was invaluable, and he became the most discerning person in the world. The only drawback is not being close to women. Thousands of young girls long for it, but it's out of reach. Everyone is waiting to see Sheng Ji live alone after marriage. In fact, Master, I have received a security report. Madam said that she actually acted in a scene to deceive you. I have long known about this matter. How can I continue to stay by her side without accompanying her in the performance? Master, Madam knows your identity. She came to Sheng Ji Pavilion to check the account books and suspects that you have too much private money. Give her the key to the vault quickly, just say, all my money belongs to her, her or hers. Master, are you not close to women because you are afraid of your wife? She is willing to marry off without knowing my identity, leaving home thousands of miles to treat my ears. I don't care about such a good daughter. In law, what should I do if she is pried away? Keywords of the novel. No pop-ups after marriage with the disabled immortal lord. Download the complete TXT collection After Marriage with the Disabled Immortal Lord, and read the latest chapters After Marriage with the Disabled Immortal Lord. Chapter 1. Planned Marriage, 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 Planned Marriage, 1, Please, let me go. On the streets of the Ghost Market, where the cold wind howls, the peak season is dressed in mourning, begging hard. She desperately tried to break free from the clutches of the bully, but her strength was too weak and she was dragged further and further away from her father's body. She cried to the onlookers, but no one dared to offend the bully. Dad, you have a spirit in heaven to save your daughter. The body covered in white cloth remained motionless. It's really a pity that every day should not move. The bully cruelly pinched Sheng Ji's waist and laughed proudly, little beauty, save your energy. You'll have to shout when you get home later. No, I don't. Taking advantage of the bully's lack of attention, Sheng Ji bit his wrist and the bully immediately shook her away in pain. Sheng Ji hit a stone and her forehead was bleeding profusely, which was exactly what she wanted. Even if you die, you won't go back, she said as he spoke. He suddenly hit the stone. Miss, wait a moment. In the crowd, Mu Huaice, who had originally intended to act low-key, couldn't bear it anymore. He took the lead in stopping Sheng Ji and gently advised, it's not your fault. If you die, why don't you make your loved ones hurt your enemies faster? Someone holding a long sword, dressed in a blue and white robe with a fairy-like demeanor and a handsome face as gentle as jade. Standing on the streets of Ghost City, it becomes a unique scenery. Sheng Ji looked down awkwardly and said, thank you very much for your kindness, but I am only temporarily safe now. Auntie is no longer here, and I thought I would come to the Ghost City to seek refuge with her. In the future, there will be someone to protect her. But I never expected Auntie to leave too, and I will be alone in the future. Speaking of sad things, Sheng Ji wept bitterly and said, since we will be bullied sooner or later, why not take advantage of our innocence and go underground early to reunite with our parents? As she spoke, she struggled to hit the stone again. Men and women are different. Mu Huaice didn't take her hand, but with a wave of his sleeve, the big stone was shattered by the powerful spiritual power. Don't worry, Mississippi. Since I intervene in this matter, I will take care of it to the end. His handsome face still wore a warm smile, naturally calming the unease in Sheng Ji's eyes. Xianjun, you. Where did the yellow-haired boy come from? How dare he stand up in front of your grandfather? The bully was disturbed and angrily slapped over. The onlookers were frightened and quickly recoiled. Mu Huaice stood calmly, swiftly drew his sword and swung it, causing his palm power to shatter and the bully to be bounced hundreds of meters away. Okay. The onlookers clapped their hands and cheered. Finally, someone has dealt with this calamity. I have long heard that Mu Xianjun is good-looking, has a high cultivation level, and is also low-key and benevolent. Today, I saw him like this. Humph. With just this cultivation, is he still learning from others to forcibly rob common women? He's not even worthy of lifting shoes for Mu Xianjun. Everyone, with every word you say and every word you say, I lose face and say, shut up for me. He was furious and struggled to rush towards Mu Huaice again. Before he could even get up, Mu Huaice's long sword was already dangling to his forehead. Mu Huaice stood confidently, with his left hand behind his back and his right hand nimbly pointing to the sword. Do you still not know how to repent? The tip of the sword was getting closer and closer. When he was only an inch away from the bully's eyebrows, he finally trembled and begged for mercy. Please forgive me, Mu Xianjun. I have eyes but don't know the truth. I dare not do it anymore. If there were another time, it would be like this tree. Mu Huaice waved his right hand casually, and a towering tree behind the bully instantly broke through his waist. Yes, yes. The bully kowtowed like garlic. Mu Huaice withdrew his sword and said, You go. Bullies, like those who are granted amnesty, will run away. The onlookers cheered again. But Mu Huaice did not respond. 800 years ago, after being injured in an accident, he lost his hearing and relied solely on lip reading for daily communication. He carefully noticed that Sheng Ji was crying while covering his torn collar, and instructed the guards Lu Ying to buy a ready-made cloak from the girls watching. The girls in Guisha who admire Mu Huaice are all over the street, saying, Mu Lang's business is my business. There's no need for silver, just take it and use it. Knowing that her own master would not agree, Lu Ying insisted on giving her the silver money. Take these money with you. Mu Huaice, who had just scared the bully and fled, now squatted down humbly, handed Sheng Ji a cloak and a full bag of silver coins, and encouraged with a warm smile, after burying your father, leave the ghost market and go to relatives as soon as possible. I think your parents, who are still in heaven, hope you can live well, right? Ghost City belongs to a land of mixed fish and dragons, and the officials of the Immortal Mansion have never intervened. Whether one lives or dies depends on their abilities. A girl like Sheng Ji who has no cultivation or protection from her parents is better off going anywhere than staying in the ghost market. But I don't have any relatives anymore. Sheng Ji didn't take the money bag and looked at Mu Huaice with tears in his eyes. Immortal Lord not only saved my life, but also had the heart to pay for the burial of my father. Then you will become Sheng Ji's boss from now on, and Sheng Ji will be at his disposal. After speaking, disregarding the injury on his forehead, he knelt down to kowtow to Mu Huaice. Miss, there's no need to do this, it's just a matter of hands. Mu Huaice refused to comply and hurriedly bid farewell to Lu Ying, as if this little woman was even more terrifying than that bully. Sheng Ji also refused, carrying his father's body and struggling to follow behind them. The cold wind is howling, and my small and thin body accidentally falls down time and time again, but I still refuse to give up, pitiful yet persistent. It's okay. Being rubbed by her, Mu Huaice's heart softened and he said, It's really not appropriate to carry your father's body on the street like this. Let's go with Lu Ying and send your father to the ground as a peace of mind. We'll discuss your matter later when we return to the mansion. Thank you, boss. Sheng Ji burst into tears and smiled. But as Mu Huaice explained the matter of Lu Ying, the enchanting fox's eyes showed a cunning smile. Being aloof but not vulgar, he is completely different from the pitiful little one who sold himself to bury his father before. The first step of the plan, it's done. Sheng Fu, who was named Sheng Fu, has been hiding in the ghost market for many years. He was killed by his enemy 2 months ago, and his body was altered by Sheng Ji using a cover-up. As for her daughter who suddenly emerged, although she had never appeared in the ghost market before, she was willing to sell herself to bury her father, and there was nothing else to care about. In this way, the green card representing the registered residence of Ghost City was successfully obtained. Ghost City has a regulation. Ordinary outsiders can stay here for 1 month every year, but if they want to stay for a long time, they must marry the local people and obtain a green card of registered residence. As for the purpose of fleeing from refugees and revenge or other motives, they will not be asked. And Mu Huaice came to Ghost City with his sect mission this time to find an important person. After watching for a whole month, he still couldn't find anyone. And just yesterday, I received an eviction order from Ghost City. So he either leaves or quickly finds a local woman to marry. And now, in her prime, she happens to be single, has a green card, and has even been sent to his doorstep. Mu Huaice has a handsome appearance and a refined temperament. When he first arrived at the ghost market a month ago, he captured the hearts of countless young girls and eagerly wanted to marry him, boldly expressing his love. But it gave Mu Huaice a headache. So Sheng Ji decided to take the opposite path, pretending to be calm and waiting for the big fish to take the bait themselves. Open a new book, still a sweet pet. For some cute kids, the beginning may be a bit slow and hot. So Xiaoyu marked the cookies in the chapter table, if it's not sweet, bite me. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Planned Marriage 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Planned Marriage 2. Live up to the expectations of the peak season. The next morning, Luying came to explore the proposal. Can I think about it? The peak season will remain calm until the end. Because Auntie once said, it's too easy to get, men don't know how to cherish it. Actually, do you still need to think? Of course, you can take it directly. No one knows, she has been looking forward to this day for 800 years. Sheng Ji is actually here to repay the kindness. Mu Huaice studied under the Mu Yun sect and was originally a versatile young genius. He was chosen as the young master at a young age. 800 years ago, she unfortunately lost her hearing and fell to the altar because she saved her life. Deafness in both ears greatly affected his defense against the blind spots behind him during combat. As a result, he was not only stripped of his position as a young leader, but also subjected to ridicule and ridicule. He was also used as a stepping stone for some young people to make a name for himself. It seems to be a commendable thing that young geniuses who can withstand a 1.1 encounter, if they didn't use this despicable method of sneaking attacks from behind. Bullying him is an orphan without family support. Since the day he risked saving her life, her prime season has been his family. She not only needs to support him, but also to support him in the sky. She studied and practiced hard for many years, and eventually learned the method of cracking. Just to my surprise, her experimental bowl of tonic diet soup was just abandoned by the old sow in the neighbor's backyard. Is it that bad to drink? What a pig's head, not discerning goods. Leaving his neighbor's house, Sheng Ji decided to buy some more medicinal herbs and remake the 10 complete tonic soup for Mu Huaice, secretly helping him treat his ears. What will my family's Kiss Malong be doing at this moment? On the way, she mobilized the little paper man who stayed in his dormitory. This is the unique cultivation secret of their family. Sorcery. Attach her 5 senses to the small paper figure, able to hear for thousands of miles and see from all directions. After a while, she will be able to enter and exit Mu Lang's dormitory openly, enjoying his people first and then occupying his heart. Then he handed in all the silver and all the work. As a reward, he can drink the 10 complete tonic soup that she cooks herself every day perfect. Jia. Hearing the sound coming from Mu Huaice's dormitory, Sheng Ji looked through the eyes of a small paper figure. Did she agree? The cold wind was brought into the bedroom, and Mu Huaice, who was sitting cross-legged at the head of the bed, slowly opened his eyes. He still wore the same blue and white long shirt he wore when he returned in the middle of last night, tirelessly exhausting his spiritual power for several days. His handsome face, with a jade-like temperament, turned a bit pale. But when he smiled lightly, the dawn lost its radiance. It is difficult to imagine such a warm and elegant person who has lived in a silent world for 800 years. No, the guard Luiying placed breakfast on the desk and shook his head in frustration. It's normal not to want to. Mu Huaice's elegant smile exuded a hint of self-deprecation. Deafness has been disliked by people, and he has become accustomed to it in recent years. Can we use some extraordinary means? When Mu Huaice raised his eyes again, Luiying's left hand silently shook the void and asked for guidance. She was originally an outsider, so there's no need to make things difficult anymore. Not in a hurry to have breakfast, Mu Huaice got up and walked to the window, looking up at the sky with his hands down. The elegant blue and white silhouette of Xian Chang is plated with a layer of sparkling gold, appearing as ethereal and beautiful as before. It's dawn now. There are only 3 days left until the deadline for the expulsion order in Ghost City. But he still hasn't found any trace of that person's breath. Is the news on the hot search list of the spirit mirror fake? On the mainland of the Eastern Emperor, spiritual mirrors were used as a popular communication element, allowing for transmission of messages from thousands of miles, transmission of sound from thousands of miles, and entry from thousands of miles. You can also see the event hot search list, expert ranking, killer ranking, and other rankings. GGG. The sparrow was making noise on the bare branch, but it didn't catch the slightest attention of the people by the window. Has it been quietly taken away by other forces? Luiying walked closer so that Mu Huaice could see his lips clearly. It doesn't matter if you belong to a prestigious and righteous sect, but you're afraid of falling into the hands of the 3 religions and 9 streams, causing harm to the people. Mu Huaice frowned and said, "Can there be any changes in other sections?" "There's no clue, and we've received an eviction order." Luiying truthfully reported, but they changed a group of people and continued to guard the ghost market. The hesitation of Luiying made Mu Huaice clear in his heart. This method is the simplest, but it is as difficult for them as the sky. Luiying was afraid that Mu Huaice would be upset, so he timely changed the topic and said, "Is it possible that he left on his own? Various forces have been guarding the exit of the ghost market, and he cannot leave." Mu Huaice directly denied this possibility. Besides the ghost market, there are official and immortal forces everywhere else. Where else can he go? That's right. Luiying nodded. He used to hide in the ghost market, so he probably saw a mix of good and bad here. Just then, someone suddenly fell from the sky in the courtyard. A man and a woman were all dressed in blue and white gowns, just like Mu Huaice. How did they come? Luiying looked over first and her face changed. Mu Huaice followed his gaze, his eyes also sinking. Through the eyes of the little paper figure, Sheng Ji also noticed that the incoming person had a bad expression and a bad premonition. She didn't care about buying medicinal herbs and quickly rushed back from the other end of the ghost market. In the small courtyard. "Don't be safe, senior brother." The new young leader of the Mu Yun sect, Li Yu, held the blue dragon glass sword with a proud posture and said, "As the January deadline approaches, can you find the whereabouts of that inheritor?" Mu Huaice's expression was faint. But Sheng Ji could see a slight fluctuation as his gaze swept over the blue dragon glass sword. "Harmful, I haven't interacted with deaf people for a long time, so I'm a bit uncomfortable." Li Yu was clearly displeased when he was ignored. He deliberately concealed his voice and slowly changed his lip shape, saying, "Can you hear clearly this time?" His face was full of mockery. This task is arduous, and other sects have not achieved any success. It is understandable that Huaice cannot find it. The woman behind him seemed to be trying to smooth things out, but her words changed. "Since the deadline has passed, please take the information collected in the ghost market and complete the handover with the young master as soon as possible. What an ugly way to eat. Sheng Ji drove by the roadside with disdain. Even if Mu Huaice is kind-hearted, why do they say they want the hard work they have accumulated over the years without sleeping or resting? Still eating soft and hard food. Mu Huaice, you must not agree. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Planned Marriage, 3. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Planned Marriage, 3. Fortunately, Mu Huaice did not respond and his gaze towards the woman became increasingly indifferent. Mu Huaice, please take care of your own eyes. Linglong is now my fiancé A.E. of Liu. Liu arrogantly hugged Linglong and deliberately touched her face. You really are, Huaisu is still here. Linglong's mouth was wary of Mu Huaice, the former fiancé A, but her body leaned against Liu with half a push. A gentleman should not be disrespected unless he is polite, and Mu Huaice should be indifferent and not open his eyes. Lu Ying couldn't bear it, disregarding her identity, and angrily retorted, whoever becomes the young master, she will be their licking dog. This kind of person, even a second glance would be dirty on my master's eyes. Bold. While Liu scolded, his eyes trembled, releasing endless pressure. Lu Ying's knees trembled uncontrollably, his facial features were ferocious, and cold sweat broke out. However, despite this, he gritted his teeth and refused to kneel and lower his head. He can't lose face with his master. Liu, you can stop at the appropriate time. Mu Huaice furrowed his brows slightly, and with a gentle sweep of his sleeve towards the front right, the pressure of the flowing shadow dissipated instantly. Every move was calm and composed, still the same as the former son of Qinjiao. Although his ears were injured, his talent and cultivation were still far beyond Liu's reach. Damn it! After being publicly slapped in the face, Liu clenched the hand of the blue dragon glass sword, his bones turning pale, and then put on a young master's demeanor. Mu Huaice, do you dare to commit the following offense? Huaisu, how can you directly call the young master's name? Apologize quickly. Linglong also took a step forward and chimed in. Mu Huaice ignored her and looked at Liu calmly. Go back and tell the leader that since Huaice has issued a military order, he will definitely bring the inheritor back intact. When Sheng Ji saw through the small paper figure, he breathed a sigh of relief. I have long heard that Mu Huaice has no feelings for this listed fiancé A.E., but now that she has seen it with her own eyes, she feels relieved. But what about the military order? A kind-hearted fool must have been forced to make some significant promise. Sheng Ji's heart tightened once again, and he couldn't help but quicken his pace. Linglong, who was ignored by Mu Huaice, had a sunburn on her face, clearly unaware that she had lost even her basic respect from the past. She didn't plan on pretending to be kind anymore. There hasn't been any clue for a month. When do you want the leader to wait? Wait for the next heir to be born. Liu also sneered, yes, you'd better speak up for such a shameful answer yourself. Linglong kindly said, if you're worried that you won't see each other for a month and your lip language will become rusty, I can send someone to help you. Ha ha ha. Liu immediately laughed wildly, knowing that Mu Huaice couldn't hear him. His expression was deliberately exaggerated, even almost ferocious. Mu Huaice only looked at him lightly, as if watching a clown perform a solo role. Disdainful yet powerful. Lu Ying was furious and said, the military order is ahead. If my lord leaves the ghost city before completing the mission, it is equivalent to voluntarily withdrawing from the sect. When the strong enemy is gone, the credit for being in the ghost city will also belong to you. You two have such a good plan. Lu Ying, you are really reckless. Being exposed by the flowing shadow, Linglong became angry and embarrassed. The spiritual power of the Xiantong heavenly realm's entry level suddenly released, compressing the flowing shadow that was only half a step level from the Qiankuan earth realm, and immediately causing blood to spit out from the mouth. Luiying. Mu Huaice quickly tried to intervene. Your opponent is here. Li Yu and others were just a starting point for his actions. He seized the opportunity and his cultivation suddenly skyrocketed. He, who was originally only at the peak level of the Qianquan realm, was instantly promoted to the entry level of the Xiantong heavenly realm. Mu Huaice, you are so disobedient to discipline. As the young leader, I have to exterminate this sect today. At the same time, more than 10 people suddenly flew into the hospital, surrounding Mu Huaice in groups. Cold winter courtyard, overwhelming 1.1 competition, ready to erupt between the purge and the cold forest. Despicable. Seeing this scene, Sheng Ji's face instantly darkened. This person named Li Yu is playing a trick. Just now, I deliberately concealed my strength in order to seize the opportunity in psychological warfare. Absolutely shameless. On the eastern continent, there are 4 levels of cultivation realm, each of which is further divided into 3 levels. Free entry level, half-step level, and peak level Qianquan territory entry level, half-step level, and peak level Xiantong Tianjing entry level, half-step level, and peak level Nirvana realm entry level, half-step level, peak level. Although the first level is adjacent to the second level, every ascent requires the practitioner to put in a great deal of effort, and every ascent to a higher level requires experiencing a catastrophe, with both difficulties and opportunities being equally important. As a result, the higher you go, the stronger your power becomes. Just like Linglong from the Xiantong heavenly realm, who appears to be only 2 levels higher than the flowing shadow from the Qianquan earthly realm, there is actually a realm separated in the middle, which is absolutely overwhelming in strength. This time, not only did they come to the Xiantai heavenly realm with 2 entry levels, but the other 10 people were also at the Qianquan earth realm climbing peak level. It seems that they not only want to steal intelligence from Ghost City today, but also want to use the military order to completely drive out Mu Huaice's sect, and even wait for an opportunity to kill him. Cultivation level. Free entry level, half-step level, peak level, Qianquan territory, entry level, half-step level, peak level, Xiantong Tianjing, entry level, half-step level, peak level, Nirvana realm, entry level, half-step level, peak level. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Planned Marriage, 4. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Planned Marriage, 4. When you first entered the Xiantong heavenly realm and your foundation was unstable, you gathered everyone to come and valued me very much. The familiar faces of former brothers, friends, and brothers were unfamiliar to Mu Huaice at this moment. The cold wind suddenly rose, and the last hint of warmth in his black eyes also disappeared. Instead, those who often travel south and north to confront outsiders during wartime are proud and decisive. Seeing everyone's breath tremble. Who is Mu Huaice? At the age of less than 1,000, he stepped into the entry level of the Xiantai heavenly realm. After thousands of years, he worked day and night and practiced diligently, and his cultivation had already been elevated to half a step level of the Xiantai heavenly realm. Can these people really easily harm him? Take it seriously. You have such a big face, and everyone is here to watch the excitement. It's rare for a young genius to turn into a lost dog once in a million years. Ha ha ha. Li Yu said so, but clearly came prepared. He quickly adjusted his formation. Linglong restrained Luiying, feigned to attack from the front, and ordered the others to circle behind Mu Huaice and take turns sneaking attacks. Because he is deaf in both ears, there is a blind spot behind him in combat. Li Yu also proudly said, Mu Huaice, you have been searching for someone tirelessly these days, and your body must be floating and tired. Honestly hand over the information in your hands, then kneel down and admit your mistake. I, the young master, can still spare you a way to survive. Li Yu, you're looking for death. Listening made me extremely angry. Sheng Ji had a pair of charming fox eyes, and suddenly a red light appeared. In an instant, countless small paper figures poured out like white moths. Wherever they went, pedestrians were instantly controlled by 5 senses, their eyes fixed in a daze. Without any hesitation, she quickly flew towards the Mu family courtyard. Far water cannot save near fire, and the peak season is still too late. Follow my orders and attack with all your might. At this moment, with the order of Li Yu, more than 10 people in the small courtyard immediately launched a fierce attack on Mu Huaice, full of killing intent. Mu Huaice is focused on facing the enemy, and years of combat experience have made his moves flexible and his posture agile. Both in blue and white long robes, he carried the immortal code floating on his body, dancing every move with a feeling of being exiled to the mortal world. But the innate disadvantage lies there. With 100 consecutive moves, the long robe, which was originally a fairy-like character, ultimately fell through. New grudges and old grudges all come towards me, let go of the wandering shadows. He retreated to a dark corner, but supported the ground with his sword and stood facing the sun. The blood on Yujun's face flowed slightly, but there was no sign of the defeated person's dejected anger. Instead, there was a touch of desolation that did not touch the mortal world. No. Master, I'm not leaving. Luying, trapped by Ling Long, struggled desperately. However, Mu Huaice didn't look at him and couldn't see his lips. Li Yu, you shrunken turtle. Under all kinds of helplessness, Luying angrily roared at Li Yu, there's no way to compete from the front, even if you're in the underworld, you're also the second in 10,000 years. Upon being poked at the flaw, Li Yu immediately frowned and said, a waste is a waste. No matter how high his cultivation is, he will have to bow down and pay homage to me in this lifetime. As he spoke, he lifted his sword and stabbed Mu Huaice's chest directly from the front duo. Unexpectedly, the blue dragon glass sword came to life and suddenly broke free from Li Yu, thrusting into the wall. Everyone was stunned. My gaze began to waver. Is it because the Qinglong glass sword refused to harm Mu Huaice because they have been together for over 400 years day and night, or has it always only recognized Mu Huaice as the young master? Sheng Ji was also taken aback, but later realized. In the Mu Yun sect, the green dragon is a symbol of the young leader. Li Yu, your ulterior motives are a great taboo for those who practice immortal swordsmanship. Mu Huaice looked at his old friend and felt relieved, curling his lips. The blood stains on his lips turned into a brilliant red flower. Although he and Qinglong Liuli's sword have only been together for just over 400 years, they have already merged into one. However, Li Yu's pursuit of quick success and instant benefits over the past 800 years has not been recognized by the green dragon glass sword at all. So whenever Mu Huaice wants to control the blue dragon glass sword, then he is its only owner in the world. So what? You must die for me today. Faced with such a great shame and humiliation in public, Li Yu became furious and mobilized all his internal strength. With one palm, he rushed towards Mu Huaice, you are really hopeless. Mu Huaice shook his head in disappointment, his left hand hidden in his sleeve, also secretly accumulating spiritual power. If anyone present doesn't underestimate him, they will find that the rich spiritual power is not at the half-step level of Xiantong heavenly realm, but at the entry level of Nirvana divine realm. Hiding strength and delivering a fatal blow to the enemy unintentionally, Li Yu's level is nothing but what remains of Mu Huaice's use. Deafness in both ears, although affecting his combat, did not affect his cultivation, but rather focused more. And this is also the secondary reason why he insisted on coming to the Ghost City. Promoting to the Nirvana divine realm requires going through a heavenly calamity, with the most secret of being in the deep mountains and forests halfway through. The reason why Mu Huaice chose to do this is to be prepared for the current situation. Unexpectedly, we are not facing outsiders from other sects in the ghost market, but so-called members of the Mu Yun sect. The Nirvana realm is his life-saving trump card, except for the flowing shadow, anyone who knows it must die. I didn't want to kill them all, but they have forced him to take action. Just as Mu Huaice was about to take action, Ling Long screamed in fear. She flew uncontrollably in front of Mu Huaice. Outside the courtyard wall, Sheng Ji sneered and hooked his lips. What is sorcery? Using paper figures as a medium can not only attach one's own 5 senses to a small paper figure, but also attach the small paper figure to others, manipulating their limbs and 5 senses. Previously, it was far away, but now, none of you scumbags can run away. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Planned Marriage, 5. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Planned Marriage, 5, Ling Long, what stupid thing are you doing? Li Yu widened his eyes, but with this palm, he had a determination to kill and couldn't easily retrieve it. Puff. Ling Long quickly vomited blood and fainted to the ground. But her mouth continued to open and close, her tone cold and stern, and she said arrogantly, Li Yuxiao, your mother is calling you home to drink milk. Take advantage of my good mood and get out of the ghost market as soon as possible. The speaker was clearly within reach, but the sound sounded like stepping on a startled cloud or crossing thunder from afar. Above the courtyard, a gloomy mist rose up, with a chilling chill. Can it stir up the celestial phenomena? Is this the realm of nirvana? Li Yu and others were instantly shocked and pale. Mu Huaice's expression remained unchanged. He first examined the injuries caused by Lu Ying, and then fixed his gaze on the mist above, feeling lost in thought. Li Yu still didn't give up. Who are you? I am Li Yu, the young leader of the Mu Yun sect. If you disturb me, I hope you can show more understanding in the face of our sect. Young master of Mu Yun sect. Ling Long sneered, what kind of thing? With a broken sword, a woman with a charming personality can pretend to be herself. Oh, that broken sword didn't even treat you like a scallion. Speaking of which, only this woman cares about you. All the people present were unmarried, and suddenly heard these explicit words. Except for Li Yu's green face, everyone else was embarrassed. Especially Mu Huaice, whose already fair and tender face couldn't help but have 2 pink and crimson flowers floating on it, which was particularly tempting. Sheng Ji was puzzled. She just came up with a quick idea and used a particularly dirty metaphor to belittle Li Yu. What kind of expressions do they all have? Puff. Sheng Ji suddenly spurted out a mouthful of fresh blood. Her nirvana divine realm is only achieved through her family's secret techniques, using the cultivation level of the Xiantong heavenly realm to forcibly elevate herself, harming others rather than benefiting herself. On the contrary, it was Mu Huaice. If it weren't for being injured to save her back then, he would have already climbed to the nirvana realm with his strength. How could he have been humiliated by a group of ants? Whenever he thinks about the past, Sheng Ji always feels heartbroken. His gaze became increasingly firm, he raised his hand to wipe away the bloodstains from the corners of his mouth, determined to fight and make a quick decision. In the end, Li Yu and others crawled and fled in succession. Before leaving, he didn't forget to put down his harsh words and said, the leader has a mandate. You are limited to finding the inheritor within 10 days. Otherwise, I will take over. You can take care of it yourself. Mu Huaice and his servants returned to their room together. Master, please don't believe Li Yu's one-sided words. Lu Ying put the Jin Chuang medicine back in its original place and turned to worry, saying, the 10-day time limit is too short. The leader definitely wouldn't treat you like this. This matter is of great significance and cannot be delayed. Mu Huaice changed his blood clothes and sat in front of the desk, carefully flipping through the records of the ghost market during these days. Master, his elderly family is not easy either. Master was first the leader of the entire Mu Yun sect, and then his master. Master Junzi is honest with Tang, but Master Li Yu and others are eyeing him closely. He cannot afford to make a mistake. What's more, if we can't get registered residence, we can only stay in Ghost City for a few days, so we must find someone as soon as possible. Mu Huaice habitually rubbed the pen with his thumb and pondered, the mysterious Nirvana Realm Master today is either an enemy or a friend, and it is worth exploring. I will order the people under me to carefully investigate. Who in this world are those who misuse the concept of taking possession or have their cultivation touched upon the realm of nirvana? Lu Ying quickly used the spirit mirror to send out a 1,000-mile transmission, while sighing deeply in pain. The master has been overly sensible since childhood. When it comes to the task of searching for inheritors this time, other factions are hesitant to accept it due to the dangers of the ghost market, but the master takes the initiative to step forward. But those petty people turned their heads and despised him, insisting on forcing him to issue a military order before giving up. The master cares about all the people in the world, but who would truly care about the master's joys and sorrows? There's a reply. The spirit mirror suddenly emitted a white light, and Lu Ying was surprised to take it up and look. How could it be so fast? What? He widened his eyes and quickly showed it to Mu Huaice. This peak season is actually fake. The world deceived Mu Huaice for being deaf, but little did they know that he was deaf in both ears and had suffered from the harshness of the world. After careful consideration, he used his own strength to build the mysterious pavilion and gather intelligence from various sources. Holding the secrets of the world is the most discerning. At first, rescuing Sheng Ji was indeed with compassion, but he found it difficult to easily trust anyone in recent years, so he instructed the people below to investigate Sheng Ji's origins. But who exactly is counterfeiting? Why is counterfeiting? Can't even the people from the Xuanji pavilion be traced? Mu Huaice chuckled and said, "It's interesting." At that moment, there was a knock on the door outside the house. Lu Ying opened the door and said, "Miss Sheng Ji." End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Planned Marriage, 6. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Planned Marriage, 6. Mu Huaice followed the flowing shadow and saw Sheng Ji walking in with a plate. Wearing a tight red cotton robe, outlining a graceful and slender waist. She placed the tonic soup on the desk, her mouth slightly curved, and gave him a faint smile. Despite her aloof demeanor, she has a pair of fox eyes that are both charming and alluring. I stewed tonic soup and brought it to the owner to taste. Miss Sheng Ji, please take a seat. Mu Huaice raised his hand to the seat opposite the desk, with a clear smile on his face, still looking like he had a good temper. And the scrutinizing gaze faintly suppressed the guard. He, who had changed into a moon-white gown, exuded an even more boundless temperament. Rao Shengji has always been calm, but he couldn't help but feel a heartbeat as he watched. Okay. She felt guilty and regained consciousness, pretending to sit calmly. My boss will leave the ghost market sooner or later, and then Sheng Ji will be useless. With a humble expression and a calm expression, he said, but if my boss likes the food I make, I can be of some use. This marriage should be arranged. As stated in the notebook, being too enthusiastic at the beginning can easily scare people away, so she prepared to take it slowly. But he kept staring at her lips, watching her heartbeat accelerate and her throat heat up. I couldn't help but want to get closer. Mu Huaice's lips are delicate and sexy, with moist lips like ripe peaches. If you take a bite, no way. Sheng Ji, you have to hold back. Miss Sheng Ji's words are reasonable. Mu Huaice pretended not to see her aggressive gaze as if staring at her prey, but in fact, he knew it in his heart. Since she has ulterior motives, this marriage is secure. He is quite certain about his appearance. I couldn't bear to implicate innocent people, now let's take what we need. However, after being tricked by his fellow martial brothers who had been in the same school for many years, Mu Huaice turned to drinking soup delivered by a fake, and he was not as ambitious. He hinted vaguely, and Lu Ying immediately spoke up, I'll try the temperature on behalf of the master. And take the opportunity to quickly use a silver needle to pierce into the soup. Well, the ingredients are non-toxic. Then scoop a spoonful into your mouth, but this soup maker is poisonous. Madam, it's too bad to drink. Lu Ying reluctantly swallowed it and quickly reported, Master, this soup is the best I've ever tasted in all these years. Lu Ying looked bewildered. Why did the words suddenly change flavor when they reached my mouth? He quickly added, "Master, you must drink 2 more bowls of this soup." Lu Ying. What's wrong with what you said? Is it because I just got injured and my brain hasn't recovered yet? Lu Ying began to doubt life and pursed his lips. Forget it, he should just shut up. On the side, Sheng Ji silently withdrew the small paper figure and chuckled inwardly. As the first person in the world to taste the soup I personally made, it can also be considered your cultivation over hundreds of years. How dare you say it tastes bad? Although the taste is indeed, Mu Huaice's expression at first sight of Lu Ying was extremely painful, and he predicted that the soup would not be too delicious. But Lu Ying's 2 beautiful words immediately aroused his curiosity, and as a result he was a gentleman with both virtue and integrity. Mu Huaice forced himself to drink it, unlike Lu Ying who grinned his teeth. This tonic soup. After drinking it, Mu Huaice quickly felt warm all over. The scars left during the fight and the spiritual sea blocked by the breath are much more comfortable now, as if there is a hot spring washing away. Seeing his surprised expression on his face, Sheng Ji knew that the medicine had already taken effect. They are all spiritual medicines at the level of heavenly and earthly treasures, which can not only repair the body, but also hone spiritual power, and even have the possibility of regenerating damaged muscles and bones. Unfortunately, it is expected that her family will not agree with her coming to find Mu Huaice, so she didn't bring much silver when she went out. Fortunately, her man is rich. It is said in the notebook that after marriage, a man's money belongs to a woman, and a woman's money belongs to herself. In the future, all his money will be hers, so he doesn't have to worry about buying medicine. Pretending not to see Mu Huaice's puzzled gaze, Sheng Ji Yen said, "The boss likes the food I make, so this marriage is settled. The future is long, and I will make it for the boss every day." Lu Ying subconsciously opened her mouth and quickly closed it. There's no need. Mu Huaice also tactfully advised, in the future, there will be specialized personnel to handle these rough tasks. Sheng Ji disapproved and said, "The story. It is said that in order to capture your husband's heart, you must first grasp his stomach." Lu Ying's mouth twitched. "Then you two will have to part ways in 2 months." Mu Huaice just smiled and didn't answer any more. However, seeing her say the word husband, a strange feeling suddenly rose in her heart. Since childhood, he has no father or mother, and his master is his closest person. Later, according to the rules of the family, I made an engagement with Ling Long, which was more like completing a task. But now, he has begun to imagine the life after marriage. Perhaps, I was scared by this soup after all. She had no intention of getting close, and their relationship was destined not to last long. Dang, dang. Seeing that he didn't respond, Sheng Ji lowered his face and reached out to knock on the desk in front of him, pulling his attention back. Then I have nothing to do with my master. According to the master's conditions, the right wife should have come from a high family. When I get the Ghost City registered residence after marriage, I'm afraid the master will sweep me out soon, right? Miss Shengji can rest assured. Can the owner swear? Lu Ying angrily said, "Why are you so rude?" Back then, my master became famous at a young age, and his superb cultivation and intelligence shocked the entire Eastern Emperor continent. This matter ranks first on the hot search list of Lingjing for several months in a row. What a sight. Now I am being harassed by a homeless maidservant who bought me, and I am still a fake. It's really like being bullied by a dog in a downfall. Hey. He's okay, he's not talking anymore. Flowing shadows turn and bring joy to oneself. Both of them didn't pay attention to him because Mu Huaice really raised his right hand and swore to the sky, "I, Mu Huaice, swear here today. After marriage, I will treat Sheng Ji and the 2 of us sincerely until our heads turn white. If we violate this oath, it will be struck by lightning." Lu Ying let out a secret cry, "Hi. Master, this includes the peak season as well." Originally, Sheng Ji wouldn't treat each other sincerely. He was the first to break the oath, so the master doesn't have to keep this oath. Unfortunately, Mu Huaice's expression was solemn and resounding. The beautiful and elegant skin of a banished immortal sat there, like a living bodhisattva descending to the mortal world, spreading wisdom to all beings. Sheng Ji said, I have also saved her. The fox's eyes curved into a meaningful smile. Mu Huaice, you really can't escape from my palm this time. After marriage, she will definitely treat each other sincerely, so if he understands any crooked thoughts, he will break his promise and be struck by thunder and lightning. But she quickly changed her tone and said, actually, I also know that there is no emotional connection between us. It is already a very noble person for my boss to treat me like this. That's why everything in our married life comes naturally, and we are willing to do it. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Planned Marriage, 7. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Planned Marriage, 7, That's strange. Sheng Ji silently added in his heart. Your water can only flow into my canal, and your feelings must meet my wishes. There are two reasons why she said this. Firstly, it can be seen that Mu Huaice does not like women actively pestering him. Secondly, there are role models in Sheng Ji's family. My father is the chieftain of the clan, with great authority towards the outside world, but he is actually afraid of the inside. But according to her mother, it was she who first fell in love with her father. My mother approached me proactively and treated my father well, but she never lowered her stance. Preserving the original personality actually attracted Dad. Later on, as time passed, the old man not only responded more and more, but also eagerly came to propose marriage. Because he always feels that it is safest for an excellent beauty to turn back into her own room. At that time, her mother taught her, there will always be one party who takes the initiative in matters of love, because liking someone and wanting to be good to them is uncontrollable. However, a one-way relationship is too tiring. If there is no response, it is necessary to stop the loss in a timely manner. Sheng Ji appreciates his mother's wisdom. So, if Mu Huaice hasn't fallen in love with her yet after completing what he wants to do, then he will leave gracefully. If she could walk into Mu Huaice's heart, then follow my father's example and pack the excellent beauties back home, hiding them in a golden house. Miss Sheng Ji is so sensible, I would like to offer you an heartless invitation. Sheng Ji's calculation in his heart was just right, but Mu Huaice didn't believe a word. He is not in a hurry about what medicine she sells in her gourd. It will take a long time, and sooner or later he will know. There happened to be something happening right now, going downhill with the donkey. His expression suddenly became solemn. Can we temporarily not disclose our marriage to the public? Oh. Does the owner want to get married in seclusion? There are many women outside who have a crush on me. To avoid them getting angry with you, let's keep a low profile for now. Both the owner and Luying have extraordinary cultivation, but they can't protect me. We still have important matters to attend to, and we will both be traveling around in the future. We cannot always take care of you. Killing people and stealing goods are common in ghost markets, so we hope that Miss Sheng Ji will carefully consider the matter of hidden marriage. Speaking of the end, Mu Huaice's serious tone even carried a hint of pressure. Even the flowing shadows on the side made my spine shiver. But Sheng Ji is not an ordinary person, and this kind of pressure cannot help her. Knowing that there was a reason behind his actions, I am not angry either. In general, when a woman sees this in her notebook, she hears her fiancé say in her own ear that if she wants to temporarily tolerate other women's feelings, she will definitely feel wronged. Does she also have to put on a show? You made me unhappy. Sheng Ji spoke up. Just this expression, unlike ordinary women, their grievances and weakness can make their fiancé's heart soften. But in a tough and imposing manner, mixed with the arrogance of those in power wielding life and death, it seems that she is not happy anymore, and everyone is so damn good. The strong and fierce coldness made even Mu Huaice unable to resist glancing. Sheng Ji. I put on the wrong look. Mu Huaice smiled and decided to observe the change. According to the wishes of Miss Sheng Ji, how can I make up for it? Nature is the foundation of one's livelihood. Sheng Ji's gaze fell on his wallet, with a clear hint. Grab a man's stomach, go to hell. In her opinion, mastering a man's wealth is the true way to seize a man's lifeline. Mu Huaice understood clearly that emotions were waiting for him here. A piece of news from Sheng Ji Pavilion is hard to come by, and there is no price in the market. He is not short of money, and she is more than enough to support 100. Starting today, your monthly silver will rise to 100 taels. Sheng Ji. She wants everything from him. Well, it's just a matter of time. His money, his people, his heart, everything will be hers in the future. The goal was achieved, and Sheng Ji left satisfied. In fact, the matter of hidden marriage is exactly what she wants. We cannot be known by our family too early, we must wait for Mu Huaice to fall in love with her before we can turn her back. Living under the same roof every day, practicing double cultivation, raising children, and playing with him, master, let her go like this. Do you want to find someone to monitor? If she leaks out about the secret marriage, it won't be good. After Sheng Ji left, Lu Ying couldn't help but say, you will be ridiculed by various sects and may even disappoint the sect leader. No, she's a smart person. Mu Huaice looked at the clever sparrow by the window and said with a faint smile, I did this for her good. If she had known about our mission in Ghost City this time, she would have understood that our situation was extremely dangerous. Any slight mistake would have made us a public enemy of various forces. She acted in secret, and the cleaner her relationship with us, the better. If she is like other women and deliberately approaches just because she likes them, then she definitely doesn't want our marriage to be known and attract more romantic enemies. These words made Lu Ying think of something, and her face suddenly changed. Master, if she really approached you because of admiration and devoted herself wholeheartedly to you after marriage, wouldn't the oath she made just now be? A gentleman's promise is naturally responsible. Mu Huaice had long thought of this layer. If she treated each other sincerely, how could he use it and kick it away? But master, do you really want to take a commoner like her back as the main wife? Lu Ying was puzzled and said, with your identity, you can definitely. Is it entirely possible to be divorced again? Mu Huaice laughed at himself as if he had heard a joke and said, Lu Ying, I am no longer the person I used to be. In the past, in the Mu Yun sect, except for his master, everyone else regarded him as a deity. Now, in order to complete a Ghost City mission, one must issue a military order and leave the sect if they fail. This is his long-standing friendship with his master. Your deafness in both ears back then was a complete act of kindness. Whenever this matter was mentioned, Lu Ying would always feel aggrieved for him. It's unfair to be treated like this by these young people now. Well, now it's even more carefree. Don't do what people see as right, only do what you want to do. Mu Huaice looked relieved, broke the cold mantu from breakfast, and fed it to the brave sparrow who flew to the desk. But the words that followed were unquestionable. Lu Ying, listen to me. If it is confirmed in the future that she has no harmful intentions towards me, then her prosperous season will be the only wife of Mu Huaice in my life. Regardless of the reason why I am seeking marriage this time, and regardless of her height, status, she will become the master after passing the door. You need to treat her like you treat me, do you understand? Rarely did he use his identity to suppress others like Li Yu did. Seeing Mu Huaice taking matters so seriously for the sake of Sheng Ji, Lu Ying immediately bowed and clasped his fists, saying, yes. The white light from the spiritual mirror on the bookshelf suddenly appeared, and a secret report was delivered using the 1,000-mile transmission method. The secret report states, to inform the Lord of the Pavilion, those who know how to seize possessions in the world are all unknown and insignificant individuals with low cultivation. Mu Huaice's right thumb rubbed the edge of the spiritual mirror, lost in deep thought. No. Who will save him today and for what reason? Or is it that this person's technique is not about taking possession? Dear friends, please ask for the ticket. You have one vote, I have one vote, urging Mu Huaice to hand in all the private money. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Planned Marriage, Sweet. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 8 Planned Marriage, Sweet. In the next 3 days, Mu Huaice continued to search for the inheritor, but still found nothing. The wedding date is also set in 3 days. Li Cheng. Send into the bridal chamber. On the night of the wedding, with the simple help of the only neighbor who knew the truth, Mrs. Wang, the two of them worshipped heaven and earth. Mu Huaice led Sheng Ji slowly into the bridal chamber. This is the first time the two have been involved. Under the red veil, Sheng Ji's expression seemed to be consistently indifferent. However, the slightly hot tip of her ear and the constantly curved lips still betrayed her. The man's palms are large and soft, with tender and smooth skin, and a good tactile sensation. The calluses on the fingertips that grip the sword all year round appear slightly rough, but they are also calm and powerful, holding her firmly. I don't know if it was due to injury that it has been icy cold all along. No problem, the kitchen stove has prepared a complete tonic soup. Sheng Ji instinctively tightened his grip and wanted to help him warm up. But are you nervous? Mu Huaice asked, catching his attention. The small hand held in the palm of his hand was warm and cozy, and even his year-round cold hand gradually gained warmth, a rare experience. It was the first time holding a woman's hand, weak and boneless, with a small ball in his palm, which made him instinctively release his strength. I'm afraid that if I exert force, I will pinch her. A little bit. Sheng Ji lied without blushing or jumping, wanting to see if he would comfort her. Don't be afraid, I don't have that many rules. Everything will be up to you later. After finishing speaking, Mu Huaice realized there was ambiguity and coughed lightly, feeling uneasy. Unfortunately, Sheng Ji didn't mind the big picture and said, "What does that mean? I can do anything later." "So what do you want to do?" Sensing her subtle and careful rubbing, Mu Huaice didn't answer the question. "Of course, whatever Shipa says, I'll do it." Sheng Ji pounced, "Otherwise, what do you think?" Mu Huaice chuckled and said, "That's great. This little guy is a bit interesting." As the two spoke, he noticed that he was taking big steps and silently slowed down his pace. "After marriage, we treat each other sincerely until our heads turn white. His oath is not a joke. A pure and innocent girl who marries him, if she has no ill intentions but leaves her family and comes to him for love, and spends the rest of her life together, he naturally has to treat her well." Sheng Ji naturally noticed his meticulousness and didn't flirt with him anymore, following him into the happy room. Wearing a big red flower on her head and dressed happily, Wang Pezi said many auspicious words, but her expression was slightly strange. After the ceremony, Sheng Ji gave her 2 ingots of silver and quickly pushed her away. Wang Pezi expressed her doubts and said, "I didn't mean to say something earlier." Sheng Ji. "You may be tired." Wang Pezi. "I'm not tired at all." Sheng Ji had no choice but to push on Mu Huaice. "I believe it must be my husband who is too powerful." Wang Pezi suddenly realized, "Oh, you look like a gentleman. I didn't expect this to be so good." She noticed it just now. Whenever Mu Huaice turned his back to her, her mouth would be uncontrollable, and she would simply say words like, "From now on, my wife will be my priority, only my wife will obey me, I will hand in all my silver, and I will take care of all my work." Sheng Ji said seriously, "My husband has a high level of consciousness." At this moment, Mu Huaice was tidying up the peanuts, melon seeds, and other items on his bed in the room. Although he couldn't hear the conversation in this joyful room, Luying was not far away from the house and had already conveyed it to him through the 1,000-mile transmission of the spiritual realm. "Oh, this little guy really has a big appetite. It's rare for him to ask her so much trouble." Farewell to Mrs. Wang. Sheng Ji immediately brought the 10 complete tonic soup. This soup medicine is treated every 7 days, and Mu Huaice has been deliberately avoiding her for the past 2 days. If she doesn't drink it again, the previous bowl will be in vain. Mu Huaice refused with a face. This soup medicine has been verified by Luing afterwards and is truly a tonic soup. Unable to bear to hurt her kindness, he simply turned his back leisurely and said, "Oh, after reading lip language all day, my eyes are so tired that I can't see anything clearly." But Sheng Ji mercilessly reached out and stopped him. Although he appears mischievous, he still quite captures her heart. But principled issues cannot be changed. Mu Huaice pursed his lips and stared at the soup bowl with complex eyes. Everyone else who gets into their wedding room is going to drink alcohol, and is it because my craftsmanship is too poor? It seems that in the future, I will have to study it carefully and make some pastries, braised dishes, refreshing cold dishes. I will be filial to my boss every day. Sheng Ji was not distressed either. He firmly pressed the person onto the stool and carefully counted the dishes in front of him, speaking very slowly with the word day. Seemingly full of confidence, he said, "Although it may not taste good at first, it's cooked twice at a time." Mu Huaice glanced at her with a headache and disgust. "Do you still know if it's not delicious? You have good craftsmanship, so there's no need to practice with others." While holding his breath and pouring down tonic soup, he finally understood the heartfelt words of his senior in the sect after being drunk: "A good marriage starts when a man learns to coax his wife." After pouring a bowl of soup into his stomach, Mu Huaice immediately poured in a whole pot of tea. The image of Sheng Ji staring directly at him before came to mind, as if pondering. The newlywed lady always advises him to drink tonic soup, isn't she worried that he won't be able to satisfy her? This concerns the dignity of men, and it will be necessary for them to prove themselves later. Unexpectedly, as soon as I walked to the bedside, I was stunned. I saw a bright yellow cloth strip about 1 palm wide placed in the middle of the big red joy bed, which read: "The woman will be fined 100 taels for crossing the boundary, and the man will be paid double for crossing the boundary." End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Planned Marriage, Sweet. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Planned Marriage, Sweet. Sheng Ji calmly said, "I am a woman, and I don't think my boss will argue with me." Mu Huaice chuckled inwardly, would she give up such a good opportunity? "If you don't want to share a room with me, then I'll go sleep in the study." Sheng Ji quickly grabbed him and said, "No way, how will the servants see me in the future?" Mu Huaice raised his eyebrows. What did he just say? On the face, he remained serious and said, "You don't need to worry. I have already ordered Luing to pass on the message." Mu Huaice wanted to say something more, but he only felt a darkness before his eyes, and then he fell head down on the bed. Sheng Ji go lip. This overpowering drug works quickly. Joking, on the night of the wedding, not doing anything would not disappoint her journey of thousands of miles. Gently lay Mu Huaice flat, and Sheng Ji looked at him from head to toe. Handsome eyebrows and eyes, straight nose bridge, delicate lips, wide shoulders and narrow waist, slender legs, well, my whole body is covered in treasures. Sheng Jisin raised his hand and gently stroked it up, but at this moment, a faint sound of night shifts could be heard from outside the far door. As the prime time approached, Sheng Ji stopped playing around and began massaging the veins and acupoints of Mu Huaice's head. According to the strange book, this technique helped to absorb the spiritual power in the previous decoction. The mysterious techniques practiced by Sheng Ji have been passed down from generation to generation through the mysterious book. The Book of Mysteries is divided into 2 volumes. The first volume can be learned by all members of the clan, mainly recording the cultivation techniques of witchcraft, using paper figures as a medium to manipulate the opponent's limbs and 5 senses. Those who practice sorcery are stronger than their opponents in the same realm. There are both advantages and disadvantages to sorcery, and it comes at a greater cost than ordinary cultivation. Every time a cultivation is broken, one must bear double the heavenly calamity. Most ethnic people are unwilling to practice, and even if they practice, they often give up halfway. But as soon as Sheng Ji thought of being able to restore the youthful genius of Mu Huaice to its original state, he felt that no matter how hard it was worth it. Due to successfully practicing magic to the realm of nirvana, Sheng Ji became the first member of the family's younger generation. Not only was he selected as the heir of the clan chief without hesitation, but he also made an exception and obtained the second volume of the Mysterious Book ahead of schedule. The second volume of The Mysterious Book focuses on the manipulation of spiritual power, which not only allows cultivators to quickly cross realms to unleash spiritual power, but also utilizes special techniques to fully utilize the spiritual power in heavenly materials and earthly treasures. This kind of technique has tremendous power, and the selection of inheritors is more strict. It is necessary to have good character and also to protect the technique from being plundered by others, so as not to cause harm to the people. Sheng Ji initially focused on special techniques. After massaging half a stick of incense, a delicate blue spiritual power first appeared from the ear, then spread to Mu Huaice's head, and finally swam towards his heart. Sheng Ji's eyes lit up. It seems to be effective. Although it is only a slender strand like a cow's hair, at least it indicates that his previously damaged and broken ear veins have hope for regeneration. The technique is very laborious to use, and in no time, the peak season is already sweating profusely. But how to say it? Exhausted and happy, she smiled happily and leaned down to kiss Mu Huaice's slightly furrowed brow. The plump eyebrows immediately relaxed, and a sense of achievement came suddenly. Sheng Ji's smile deepened, his gaze gradually shifted downwards, and finally landed on his seductive lips, attracting her to slowly approach him. "Madam, is the master okay?" Why did he suddenly lose his voice? Has he already rested? The spiritual mirror on Mu Huaice's waist suddenly rang out an untimely and anxious inquiry from Luying. Sheng Ji's heart skipped a beat. Damn it, she was offended. Fortunately, this spirit mirror only connects to 1000-mile transmission and did not open 1000-mile entry, otherwise she would have been completely exposed. Luying, if you feel lonely alone, you can go and accompany the sow in the neighboring backyard. Sheng Ji's cold face disrupts the 1000-mile transmission of the spiritual realm. Even after sleeping with the lady and daring to chat with the guards, it's simply audacious. Confiscation. She pinched his face fiercely and said, "If you don't improve after repeated education in the future, you will be punished and not allowed to go to bed. However, we still need to warm up the bed for her." End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Planned Marriage, Sweet. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Planned Marriage, Sweet, damn it. Why can't we always get rid of it? In the dense jungle of the early morning, thick branches and shrubs intertwine and grow endlessly, and a thin mist and miasma permeate everywhere, making it impossible to see the end at a glance. Returning to the peak of childhood, relying on intuition, I ran desperately forward. Behind them was a group of young people flying swords at an extremely fast speed, and the distance between the two sides quickly shortened in visible distance. As soon as they catch up with the peak season, some people can't help but offer magical tools. Shio. A series of colorful light slashes containing spiritual power shot towards her, some hitting her legs and some landing at her feet, causing her to tremble with fear and anger to the extreme. Stop it. Do you know who I am? Daddy, come and save me quickly. Sheng Ji endured the excruciating pain and ran forward desperately, scolding and calling for help. Suddenly, someone accelerated their speed and approached her directly in front, revealing a cold and cruel smile of death. Then, a sharp and heavy long sword shot straight at her chest. "Sheng Ji, keep your eyes wide open. Stop it." At this moment, a familiar blue and white figure of Xinchang appeared in time, without hesitation blocking in front of her. Mu Huaice. Sheng Ji was stunned for a moment, then turned to a sharp roar and said, "Mu Huaice, you quickly dodge." Mother. Sheng Ji. Mu Huaice vigorously shook the newlywed young lady who was trapped in a nightmare and struggling with her hands and feet in chaos, feeling somewhat helpless, but more anxious. Just as he was preparing to call the ghost doctor with Lu Ying, Sheng Ji suddenly opened his eyes. In the next moment, he caught him and repeatedly checked, feeling worried and worried. "Mu Huaice, are you okay? Did they hurt you?" Mu Huaice was surprised by the concern in her eyes, not as if she was pretending, unless she was extremely skilled in acting. With a smile on her face, she said, "I have nothing to do with my husband. My wife is just a nightmare, so there's no need to be nervous." Sheng Ji was stunned for a moment, then regained consciousness and his back relaxed. But his gaze was still not relaxed, and even Mu Huaice could read many inexplicable emotions from it. "Still feeling unwell? Call the ghost doctor over to take a look." He lightly patted her back trying to soothe her, his gaze falling on her lips, gentle and focused, as if the blue waves of spring water could melt all things. Sheng Ji shook her head, feeling that she, who had always been cold and aloof, was rarely softer. She buried her body in his arms and hugged him tightly. Sniff lightly at his unique refreshing scent of cedar, feel his strong heartbeat, and gradually feel at ease. She murmured softly, "Before, I used to wake up alone. Perhaps this time you were by my side, and finally dreamt that someone came to save me. This fragile peak season is the first time Mu Huaice has seen it." But he could only feel her mouth moving. "Sorry, I can't hear what you're saying. Can you look at me and say it again?" A very gentle sentence, but like a knife inserted into Sheng Ji's heart. She stood up with heartache, and when she looked at him again, she had regained composure. "I just wanted to ask you, do you have agarwood at home to help you sleep?" The word "home" miraculously soothed the trace of guilt in Mu Huaice's heart, and he immediately got out of bed to light incense. The red candle in chiffon swayed and shone brightly, and his beautiful and upright figure was outlined in a bright red robe. At first glance, he looked such a beautiful person. He should have been the most beautiful existence. Sheng Ji blinked his slightly sour eyelids and said, "Mu Huaice, I will definitely cure you." Wait a moment. Did he just call her a lady? This is the first time he has called her a lady. She shouted so naturally that she didn't even notice. Sheng Ji's mouth overflowed with honey. "It's a small sample, quite impressive." Mu Huaice ordered the fragrance of the goose pear tent for the peak season. It is rumored that this incense is often said to be ordered by the wife for the husband, in order to ensure that the husband who is about to travel can have a good night's sleep the night before. Sheng Ji secretly planned that after taking him home as his son-in-law, he would light this incense for her every day. Mu Huaice carefully placed the carved purple copper incense burner in front of the bed, then turned around and saw his newly married young lady, who had been resurrected with blood, staring at him with a smile on her face. "Boss, you just crossed the yellow line. Plus, dear friends, please ask for tickets. You have one vote, I have one vote, supporting Aji to buy medicine." End of this chapter.